Hey, it's your host Dan once again. Today's project is going to be a repair to an ignition key. This is the ignition key from my 2004 Pontiac GTO. First thing that's wrong with it is the rubber around the unlock button is pretty much just about crumbled and fell out of there. It was fine about 2 months ago when I bought the car, but since I've been, lock, unlock, I've been driving it every day, and this is a 15-year-old remote. The rubber wore out really fast on this, so I have to address this. I want to get this fixed because I don't want potentially any water getting in there and could ruin the circuit board. And while we're at it, we're gonna put a new battery in this thing too, because it's the original battery, 15 years old. So I went out and I bought a case online, a replacement case. It comes with the blade, but I'm not gonna have that cut because I'm gonna take the blade off the factory key and switch that over. Take the guts out of this case and put them in that case. Let's just take a look at these cases side by side before we do the swap. I mean, this here is not a GM part. You can't get a GM part. GM will not sell you this because they want to sell you the whole key and make money. I noticed that the little buttons, the little nubby buttons here on the sides, are a little smaller than the factory remote. The way it's embossed into the rubber as far as lock, unlock, and trunk is a little deeper than here on this replacement. This is kind of hard to see, but I know what they are now. And let's see what else. Oh, it doesn't have the Pontiac logo. Oh well. Like I said, you can't get this from GM. They'll sell you the whole key. Same thing with the battery. When the battery goes bad in this remote, they consider it defective and of course want to sell you a whole new key, which is very expensive on these cars. And this can be fixed. There's another little twist to this key too, because it looks like it's just got a couple screws here in the back. That doesn't really just hold the shell together. I think that just holds the blade. We're probably gonna have to pry this open because from what I've heard, these are like siliconed or glued together, but we'll see. But that's going to be the first step, is to get this original factory one cracked open. So let's just take a screwdriver and undo those screws here in the back. There we go. Really got to press on those. Don't want to strip them. That one out. Okay. There we go. Alright, yep, that just lifts right out of there. Let's give the shell a little tug. Let's see what it does. Nope. Yeah, this is going to need some more aggressive means of opening the case. Here's one thing to note before I go bust and open the factory remote. The screws that are in the back, the two of them, it's about 1/4 inch long, and this is like a machine screw. This threads into the key itself. On the replacement one, it's about 3/8 of an inch long, so it's a little longer, and it's not a machine screw, it's like a threaded screw. And that'll go, through the back of the case, through the head of the key, and then on the one side of the case there's a couple little screw bosses there where it'll catch in there, so that's going to keep these two halves together tight here at the bottom. On the other side they have these two little plastic nipple dealy guys here, and it just mates up with the other side, so when you push it together it does kind of stay together, but there's no screw, no nothing. And I'm thinking maybe down the road these halves might want to try to pull apart or separate. I don't know, I could be wrong, but I think what I'm going to do is when I seal up the shell, I'll probably put just a dab of hot glue, just in the corners up here. But I want the remote to be able to be serviceable down the road. So I just wanted to point out the screws are a little different between the two. So let's get to cracking this one open. Okay, so I got my Mondo screwdriver here. Let's stick this in here, see what that does. We can get any action on it. Oh my gosh, wow, these things are Wow, this thing's held together. Ain't kidding, they're siliconed or glued or whatever. Holy cow. Oops, don't press the buttons. Wow. Okay. That's kind of a fail. That's not going to get it apart. Yep, so I decided the best course of action would be to try to use a razor blade here on the slot and keep going around it as best I can. Just cut her open. Oh, wait, we got a little bit right there. So I just got to be real careful not to cut myself. The razor blade it's a razor blade, it's sharp. It's like a surgical instrument, it'll go right through you. Like a potato peeler. Peel that skin right off. Ugh, I don't want that, those hurt like. So, one way I always do it is try to cut away from yourself, push it away so you can't cut into yourself in case it slips. And you never know, these can break too, so you could think, oh no, I got it, and then all of a sudden, boom, it breaks and the other half of the blade goes into you. Well, let's see what we got here. And we're starting to make a little headway, it looks like. Starting up, there we go. I don't want to push it towards me. Push it away. So I'm going to have to keep working this around. A little bit at a time, it looks like. Okay, this is going to be a little tougher than I expected. I thought I'd be able to get this darn thing open by now. In about 5 minutes. And I got the razor blade in there. And I'm kind of just using the other one for reference. See how, you know, where the circuit board's going to be. Because obviously I don't want to push the razor blade in too far. And I've got this top edge, so I'm just going to see if maybe I can get it. Oh, I got it in there. Screwdriver in there. Wow. I'm giving that screwdriver a turn there, and it just... This thing don't want to budge. I should be able to get it in there. Just got to be careful. Careful not to cut myself with the razor blade. Pull that back out now that I got a little bit of a gap going there. Yeah, even turning this thing, wow, this thing's like cemented together. Holy cow. Great job, GM. Awesome remote you guys built. Pretty much just gonna be cannibalizing this thing by the time I get it fully open. I'll get it open. But wow. Come on. I'm almost tempted to just take this thing to my angle grinder or bench grinder and just grind the sides right off, just so I could pull it apart a lot quicker. But I don't want to cut into the board, obviously. So I'm probably just going to keep on doing it with this. See if I can pry this apart. Holy cow. I'm starting to see some movement in the case down here. That's probably what I'll just keep doing, is just keep working around it and just keep prying it. Yeah, we're getting a little movement there, not much. I got a little bit of a hole going here. gonna get out another blade, fresh blade this time, because I probably dulled the other one already. Ugh. See if we can work this in there a little. Maybe that might break a little bit of the seal. Or maybe I just don't want to do anything. There might be a trick to getting this open a little better than the way I'm doing it, but I'm not worried about the factory case because I know it's just gonna be garbage by the time I'm done with it. Wow. Yeah, talk about silicone. This sucker's like glued together. Ooh, it fits. So I kind of got that slot there. There we go. Gotta see when I'm prying on that a little bit. It's like it wants to come apart, but she's held together with some mighty strong stuff. Jesus. So I figured I'd start at this end here where the little key ring is, because I'd be least likely to damage anything. Oh wow. Oh, I think we made some headway. I got a snap out of her. Ooh. Yeah. Okay, I snapped just about one whole half of it. See if I can do it with my meat nuggets. If I can pull this apart. Probably not. Ah, nope. Okay. Let's run her up the edge. Wow, that's like super glued. I hope I'm not hitting any of the parts in there. I'm gonna, there we go, try to get the screwdriver just barely on the edge. Just ever so barely. And then try to pry it this way. I don't want to go in and start gouging the parts with the screwdriver. I just want to be kind of careful there. Okay. Wow. She's tight. She's on there. Holy shit. Gonna stab yourself, man. Okay. Well, factory mode ain't ever gonna look pretty again, that's for sure. Once we get it out of here, get her old transferred. Oh. Well, at least we're getting closer. We're making headway. We're making headway. And I can start to see the board here. There we go. I can spread it open like that. And here, maybe if we can catch the right angle. And there's the part I don't want to hit. And the case is starting to kind of break here on the back. I might just break it off. Wow. Ridiculous. this takes any longer, I'm about to get out the Dremel and just zip this thing open. This is kind of nuts here with screwdrivers, but it's, ow, 5 more minutes of working with it, and yep, screwdriver slips off, pokes me in the damn thumb, so I'm bleeding. You cut me! But I have one full side now separated, and wow, this thing's tough to get apart. I mean, I'm tugging and prying and twisting, so I've just got to get this little short section off here, which is still attached, and I have to pay attention to, there's a little terminal right in here, so got to make sure that, you know, when this comes apart, that doesn't like want to bust off or anything like that. So probably about another 5 minutes of finagling the case and I'll have the guts out. Alright, so I got it open. I mean, when the halves were like this, I just kind of put my fingers in between it and just pried it and pop! Like a jack in the box, it pulled apart. There we go, there's our innards. Okay. See if we can get that little, this little rubber band guy out. That's why I'm kind of glad I didn't cut around the edge with a Dremel or like my bench grinder, because I just would have ruined this. I'm gonna need this to reseal everything. Let me just take a look here and compare this to the factory one. Yeah, it's gonna pretty much fit in the same spot. Okay. There we go. Okay, so there's our corner. And hopefully I can stretch that around. Okay, wow. That probably took me about 15 minutes to get this dumb thing apart. I got it apart. The board looks really nice. Everything looks nice and bright. Here's our battery on here. So let's set these junk parts aside. Let's take a shot, see if we can see any of the glue that was holding it. Now, before I go and just replace that battery, I mean, it does work. I want to test it. I want to see where's the voltage at on this thing. And these remotes somehow were manufactured where you can see this battery doesn't just slide out. It's on a tab, and then this tab is soldered to the board, and then the negative side has the same thing. There's a little tab on the underside of the battery, and that gets soldered to the board here. So it's soldered negative here and positive here, which I can see the trace jumps over to the this terminal, which is, you know, the key head itself is grounded out for the pass key. So let's see. Okay, so positive is just going to be the top of the battery, and my ground is pretty much just going to be right there. Well, that's pretty interesting. Let me just prop the meter up here so you guys could see and get the display in there. .23 on a factory remote. I mean, this is a 15-year-old battery. 3.23 on the factory remote, and I'm pressing and holding the lock button. I'm just holding it down. That's why the voltage dropped a little bit. I just want to make sure. 3.13. If I let off, it should go back up. You know, with this test, I think I'm just going to leave that battery there. I mean, what's the point? You know, I got another fresh battery right over here. Let's test it out and let's see what kind of voltage we get off of this. It's probably not going to be much more. .28. So that battery in the factory remote is essentially new. Huh. Interesting. Makes me wonder if the former owner ever even used the remote for lock and unlock. I don't know. This battery's good. I don't have to replace it. So I'm just going to leave it in. Why not? It's a good battery. Why go through the trouble of replacing it for one that's going to give me, what, 0.05 of a volt more? It's not really going to do anything differently. But if I did want to replace this battery, what I would do is, there's the solder points here and here, is I would unsolder the battery off the board, and then these little brackets, tangs, there's going to be one on the top and one on the bottom. I'd have to break this off the battery, and then, you know, scrape the new battery just a little bit to get a little bit of bite, and then solder these onto the battery, and then solder it back into the board. That's going to be pretty much, you know, about the only way to do it. But since this battery's good and the voltage is just, I mean, right there with a one I just bought off the shelf just yesterday, I'm going to leave that in there and start transferring the guts over into the new housing, because if eventually I do have to replace the battery, I'll just do it then, and it'll be a lot easier, and I won't have to cannibalize the shelf from the remote control. It'll come apart rather easy. Now that little rubber band that went around the edge, it'll go in the slot on the new remote. And as you can see, it's like right on the edge. And just to make things simpler, I'm just using my flat blade screwdriver, and I'm making sure it just gets pushed down fully into the slot. It's kind of wrapped around this terminal here and this terminal here, so it will also push in the groove right there. But I just want to make sure that when I go to put the halves together, that this isn't going to be, you know, a problem where they won't want to snap together. So there we go. Okay, we'll just double check that. Yeah, so it looks like I got that all the way around. Alright, let's put the shells together. I'm going to forego the hot glue or a little bit of silicone at the top for now. We'll see if it comes apart. It might not ever. Maybe that I'm just, you know, being a worrywart about it. Okay, let's close her up. Wait, that's not right. I push on. Something's not in there right. Alright, take two now with getting the shell together. I guess the first time I didn't have the board pushed firmly down there to the base. Yeah, it looks like this time I got it in there because the one side was sticking up just a little bit. And of course I had to redo the rubber band so we can get this into place here. I want to go because last time I was snapping it together and it was locking the car. There we go. This time I think I got it. Okay, so I gotta get the key in there. And it looks like last but not least, let's get our little screws in there. That'll hold everything nice and tight. And thank goodness I got a second key for this car too, because during this process, you know, I was starting to get hungry and I was like, oh, I just was about to jump in the car and I was like, oh yeah, that's right, my key's on the workbench all torn apart. Gotta go find the other one. Thank goodness for that, huh? And then our old battery, I'm not worried about that. And that might hold at the top. That might just hold. Let's make sure these are good and tight. Not too tight because I don't want to strip them. I mean, it is only going into plastic. There we go. Just double check this one again. Okay, I'm not going any tighter than that. Let's make sure the key's nice and tight in here, which it is. And it looks like our little nubber sticks out, kind of just like it does on the other one. So we should be good there. Remote still works. So I think we're good for now. Renewed the remote for the cost of a $7.50 case for it, with the key of course, but this is just the key we transferred over. It's going to do the battery. If I had to do the battery, this would have cost me $10. This is, wow, got to be hundreds at the dealer, hundreds for this key, and then probably to get it programmed. I don't even want to know. Yeah, I don't see it coming apart at the top. I really don't. And let's put our little key ring up there back on top. And then we should be all done. Pretty simple fix here on this. It was a little more time consuming than I thought, quite honestly. You know, getting the old one apart, wow. But it can be done. And you know, where there's a will, there's a way. And hey, if I can do it, you can do it too. So there we go. There we go. All right, so we're all set. Key's been renewed, works, and I'm happy. Real cheap fix here on the ignition key. $7.50 versus spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars at the dealership. Hope you learned something today. Hope you liked watching the video, and as always, thanks for watching.